Full city bound. Alright, this shooting breeze with your man Byron. Lord, it's been a while. I'm like 3 days late on this podcast, man, because I'm in a lot of pain. I'm having physical problems, but it ain't no deal. And today's International Podcasting Day, so what better day than to finally put out a podcast, you know what I'm saying? We got some things to get into. I got the fire flick of the week. I got my pump of the week lined up. And we're going to talk about this wild shit, man, that went down in Syria. I don't think people realize how serious Syria is, man. Which I know it's a little deep, and a lot of people don't want to mess with it. By the way, I'm broadcasting live, so you can hit me up on chat, on Facebook, on the channel Spreaker. You got any questions, but nobody ever asks, so I don't ever answer. But yesterday, my man Barack Obama went to the UN. He met with Vladimir Putin. And, you know, it was kind of a cold and icy meeting, but they agreed in principle to bomb ISIS in Syria and to try to have a diplomatic removal of Bashar Assad. And for those who don't know who Bashar Assad is, I advise you to look it up and Google it. He's the dictator that runs Syria, and he's an evil fuck. Let's just be real about it. He's an evil bastard. He's as evil as any dictator on the planet. You know what I mean? He's gassed his people. He probably has nuclear material. He definitely has chemical weapons. And Vladimir Putin has a vested interest because who do you think sells all the bullets, tanks, and guns to Syria? I'll give you a hint. It reminds with Russia. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's got a vested interest. And know this, people. I know I'm a nerd, but when it comes to revenues in the Soviet Union, I think it's like around 80% of the revenues come from natural gas and oil. Well, with the gas and oil prices being so low, they're not making ends meet, you know. So, they're selling a bunch of guns and weapons to Syria, and they got a vested interest, man. That's a bunch of freaking money, you know. So, we made a deal. I don't know why we trusted the bastard. And he said that, you know, look here, here's the deal. We'll team up, we'll bomb ISIS up out of Syria, and that, he'll eventually, concede, Putin will concede and try to talk, Bashar Assad, the dictator, into, advocating his leadership role, and you know, moving on down the road, I'm outside right now, so you might hear a little loud pipes because it's redneck field. But anyway, so he said that he would concede. We'd try to get him to concede and leave Syria. But in actuality, what happened today was, this is crazy. A general walks into the embassy at Baghdad and tells them, hey, the next hour, American planes are going to be flying over Syria because we're fixing to bomb the shit out of them. And not only did Assad Bashar tell him the airstrike, but he told them where to strike. And guess what they bombed? They bombed everything but ISIS. They bombed all the rebels who were trying to overthrow this evil dictator, right? Which is shitty. What they told us was shitty. You know what I mean? I'm kind of pissed off because Barack Obama let Putin get over on him, man. You know what I mean? I'm a little disappointed. I ain't gonna lie to you, but people don't realize what this entails. You know, this could be the beginning. This could be Russian Vietnam. This could be the beginning of World War III. So people need to take this shit seriously, yo. Excuse me while I spark this up, but like I said, there's so many minute details to this, variables to turn this shit into World War III. And as crazy as it sounds, and it might be far-reaching, but it could turn into some type of nuclear catastrophe in the big picture, and that's just being real about it. Like I said, Syria has, I believe, nuclear capabilities. I know they have chemical weapons because they've used them on their own people. So Putin, man, once again, is being Putin. He's trying to be the dictator. You know what I mean? He's a dictator in all his actions, but not in battle. But so y'all need to stay on top of that. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to my man Pretty Friend, the Fortune Cartel, my intro song. that we called him Pretty Fred, a.k.a. Fred Sweetback Moore, hold it down. And people need to be worried, man, you know what I mean? And it's about that time. Let me see if I can make a bubble. Oh, you know what that means. It's about that time. But, no, people don't understand the ramifications in the international big picture. And like I said, this could turn bad for us. Vladimir Putin's a piece of shit. There's been over 100 journalists killed in mysterious circumstances since he took the power of the leadership role back over the Soviet Union. Not to mention he put that plutonium-36 or whatever on the duty for a stitchy mouth that used to be a spy and killed his ass off in England. He's arrested oligarchs and billionaires that he helped make billionaires at crooked deals and took their money and put them in prison. You know what I mean? And was it Kodalevsky? He's the big one. But like I said, so folks need to stay on top of that. But I'm going to try to stay light. And we're going to get into it, and we're going to try to stay light on this one. I don't know, like I said, I've been in a lot of pain, so I don't know if I'm going to drop 30 or drop an hour. But I'm going to drop at least 30 right now. And like I said, people get mass hysteria about Syria, and they should. Like I said, they sent forces crazy. You know, we're supposed to work in cooperation. You know, it's supposed to be a bipartisan, supposed to be a coalition type, buddy type deal. And instead of calling us on the phone and warning us, they send a general into the embassy at Baghdad. And by the way, I'm armed with 20 primitive troops. I'm making a little wide right now, but it's a little chablis. But instead of contacting us via the internet, via the phone, call the White House, they send a general into the embassy in Iraq and tell us there better not be American plane squad in the next hour with Syria. And to me, that sounds like a veiled threat to shoot down our airplanes. You know what I mean? So you need to keep your eye on it. I know people don't like to get this deep, sad, depressing shit, but look, let's just keep it real. You need to keep your eye on it. Shit can go bad in a big way, in a big hurry. Because not only did they, like I said, they're letting the fucking dictator call the shots, man. They're telling him he's telling them where to bomb and what time to bomb. And they're supposed to bomb ISIS today, but instead they bombed the rebels trying to overthrow a ruthless dictator. So already you can tell it's bullshit, right? And earlier I was going to give a shout out to my man Terry Rogers. He's talking about Kim Davis and, people are proud and, Terry Rogers is a good guy. He's, like I said, he's one of the steadiest, most humble, most family-oriented. He's just an all-American good guy, man. And he was saying that Kim Davis stood up for what she believed in, and that is true. Back to this Kim Davis deal, that's that crazy broad in Kentucky who refused to sign any marriage certificate that involves a gay couple. And it basically comes out of this. The Supreme Court in the land said gay marriage is legal and that all states should recognize gay marriage. And so that now has become one of the duties of the job. And if you can't fulfill your job duties, you should take the high road and resign. But she's not doing that. She's going to turn into a movie. And mark my words, she's going to turn this into a book deal. She's going to get paid out of this shit. You know what I mean? She's going to sell out and get paid. And, you can call it what you want, but this chick was doing it for 15 minutes of fame. I understand that, and I hate to reiterate this, but I understand that this lady who now claims marriage is sacred, right? And once again, takes up the Christian myth that Christianity invented marriage, which they did not. Historical facts prove that marriage existed before Christianity, and in Greece and stuff, they had gay marriage. It wasn't that common, but it was fairly common. So marriage existed before Christianity, gay marriage existed before Christianity. So this whole, they've quartered the market on this sanctity of marriage deal is bullshit. And it's hard to call marriage sacred or say it's sanctified when over half of all marriages end in divorce. I mean, how sacred is that, really? You know what I mean? And there's a good reason why they're doing this gay marriage deal. It's because of tax purposes. It's also because of life insurance purposes. And in past podcasts, I've told you how, gay guys have been together 30 years. This one gay guy been together 30 years. And his partner was dying in the hospital. And when he died, the family showed up who disowned this guy 10, 20 years before and threw his gay partner out. and then took all the insurance money and run off. You know what I mean? And it's all about equality. You know what I mean? And that's what this. There's two things this country is founded on. That was equality for all men, and that was religious freedom, not religious oppression. That was religious freedom, and that means you're free to practice any religion you want. And that harks back to the fact that Benny Carson. And let me tell you, Benny Carson he might be a talented surgeon, but so far he's shown that he don't know jack shit about the Constitution, and basically he's a political fucking idiot. Excuse my language, but the fact that he says a Muslim wouldn't be president or shouldn't be president goes against everything the Constitution stands for. You know what I mean? The Constitution said that this country, well, the Treaty of Tripoli, which is ratified in law in 1797 as law of the land, said this country wasn't founded on the Christian religion, and that this country was based on freedom of all religions. You know what I mean? So that don't mean you can oppress people with your religious views, and there's a separation of church and state. And when you marry people, especially in the civil union, like a civic servant, there shouldn't be religion involved in it. So Jesus shouldn't play no part in marriage. That's just being straight up. You know what I mean? And you might not agree with it. You don't have to agree with it. But you have to do your job. That's one of your job duties according to the highest court in the land. So you either do your job or you get the fuck out, man. You resign. You know what I mean? You don't turn this into a cause of a celebrity and fucking try to cash in on it. And trust me, there'll be a Kim Davis book. There'll be a fucking movie of the week on Lifetime. She's going to cash in on this shit. And let me tell you, this same lady's been married 4 times. She's had children out of wedlock by the man she cheated on with her second husband. So the 4 marriages, and I don't want to say all of her marriages, but the first 3 marriages she had wasn't that fucking sacred. You know what I mean? Because she cheated and had children out of wedlock with the person she was cheating with. You know, marriage only becomes sacred because she found Jesus 2 years ago. But if she's read that Bible she's beat people over the head with, and I said this once again, these Bible thumpers, they would take time to read the Bible. Jesus never openly we're supposed to follow the Old Testament. I'm not Christian, I'm agnostic. Christians are supposed to follow the New Testament. The New Testament, Jesus, he didn't openly condemn gay marriage and abortion, none of that shit. These are all right-wing myths that have been propagated for years and decades now. And people that's one thing the Republicans are good at, is repeating mistruths and getting people to believe that it's the truth. You know what I mean? And if you don't believe me, look at Donald Trump, Carly Farina. They've done nothing. You can go to PolitiFact. Don't take my word for it. Like I say, do your own research. You go to PolitiFact. You can go to factcheck.org, and you can see these people have openly lied. And they openly lie. You know what I mean? And that's because they're scared, because they know Hillary Clinton's got the number. Right? I'm trying to be quiet here. Well, but like I said, so this whole gay marriage thing is weak. The Kim Davis chick is crazy. It all comes down to she's not a representative of the church. She's a civil servant who's a county clerk, and the highest court in the land said gay marriage is legal. So if you're a county clerk, you should sign the marriage certificate. And if you can't do that, you can't do your job or do your job. So you should take the high road and step down and resign. And that's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because from my experience, the few gay friends I have who have got married, they tend to stay together longer than most heterosexual couples, and they tend to hold marriage in a higher regard than most heterosexual couples that I know. And I'm just saying that if it's so sacred, why do half of all marriages end in divorce? And that's just being real about it. You know what I mean? It's not my business what 2 people do in their bedroom. And if you're a Christian and you want to look at this from a Christian angle, you're supposed to not to judge anyway. That's one recurring theme in the Old Testament, New Testament. Thou shalt not judge. Don't judge. That's God's job, not your job. And if there's a God in heaven, when they go meet their Maker, and if it's not cool, God will judge it not cool and send them to where they need to be. Right? And that's all I'm saying. But like I said, she's met the Pope. This chick is going to sell out. She's going to have a book of the week. She's going to do a movie on Lifetime. I'm sure she's going to cash in and make a small fortune off this. You know what I mean? So don't hold this chick up as some righteous cause of celebrity and say that she's doing righteous and she's doing Jesus work, because she's not doing Jesus work. What she's doing is she got a little bit of attention, her 15 minutes of fame, and she decided to extend it and turn this into a cause. And because political candidates like the pander and it's the election season, you got your Mike Huckabees who's a total freaking moron. You got your Mike Huckabees and your Ted Cruz just showing up to hold their hand and high fiber and all this shit to try to cash in on votes. And that's nothing but pandering. Don't get it mistaken. You know what I mean? Mike Huckabee was a shitty governor for the state of Arkansas, and I'm sure he would be a shitty president. You should never trust a politician who used to be a preacher. I'm just saying. That don't make good sense. You know what I mean? But we're going to carry on. I'm going to try to stay out the deep stuff. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, Kim Davison's had her 15 minutes. She needs to crawl back at the farm she come from, or the white trash hut she come out of, and, you know, cash in, do her book, and be done with it. And that's all I'm saying. And you got your Ben Carson. And like I said, Ben Carson might be a genius surgeon, but as far as knowing the Constitution and being qualified to be the president, he's an idiot. You know what I mean? And he is. I'm sorry. Donald Trump, idiot. Everybody that's running for the life's an idiot. And you know, Donald Trump says a lot of stuff, but he says a bunch of nothing. He says, they ask him how he's going to balance the budget. They ask him how he's going to do this, and all he ever says is, I'm going to hire people and we're going to get it done and make America great again. That's all he's going to do, but he never tells how he's going to do anything. You know what I mean? What? Right. That's, yeah. I got a secret guess, but like I said, she said that's all he ever says, and that's the truth. He don't know how he's going to do that, but he's going to hire the right people, and he's going to get it done. That's all he ever says. Everybody else is a loser. Donald Trump's a winner, and they're ugly, and they're losers. That's all he ever says. And you know what I mean? And it's sad that he's a front runner in the Republican primaries, because to me, Donald Trump represents the worst of America. He's a rich, arrogant, conceited bastard, and you know what I mean? And that's how the world sees America now. We're the big bullies on the block. We're just big, fat, conceited people. That's the truth. I don't understand what you're saying. Huh? Well, he does have a mom and daddy, and people don't realize that. Donald Trump was born to $40 million. You know what I mean? They ain't like he started. Oh, sweet, I'm back. Look here, I had technical difficulties. I got unplugged, my shit went dead. But I'm back. Sorry for the minute or 2 minute pause. I'm sure I lost all my listeners on that deal, but shit happens, man. It ain't like I got a big staff. But like I said, I got in a discussion with a woman the other day, and she was speaking about how she was going to vote Republican. Man, and when I hear, first of all, when I hear people that I respect say they're going to vote Republican, especially a woman, I hate to say it, man, but honestly, I lose all respect for them, because any woman that votes Republican are voting against their own interests. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. You ain't got to believe me. All you got to do is look at the Republican voting record. They won a legislature uterus. You know what I mean? They've passed, trying to pass over 400 bills nationwide to restrict women to get abortions or make choices about their own body. And once again, this falls back, even if you're a Christian, you're pro-life, once again, you're not supposed to judge, and that's none of your business. Kind of like gay people getting married or what they do in their own bedroom, it's none of our business. You know what I mean? And if there's a higher power, and if you believe in the Bible, God says that He'll take care of that. You know, He'll judge them in the book of life. You know, that's one of the two big reoccurring things in the Bible, in the Old Testament and New Testament. And that's to love everybody, right? And don't judge. You know what I mean? And all these people who are beating the Bible and hating on gays and that no homo shit and all that, they need to open that Bible and read it. And read what it says when Jesus says, love thy neighbor. When Jesus says, love thy enemy. You know, Jesus says, take all your money, not some of it, all your money, give it to the poor. When Jesus said, how you treat the least among least among you is how you treat me. You know what I mean? So even if you don't agree with me, and even if you're a staunch Republican, conservative, and because you're a Christian, know this: they do not represent Christianity or the preaching of Jesus. You know, and that's just the truth. Don't believe me. Go look in the Bible. That's all you got to do. You know, I'm down to my last minute. I had a 2-minute break, but I'm just saying. Now I want to move on. I'm going to do something lighter. I try to speak about film. And this week, the Fire Flick of the Week is Fury, Brad Pitt, man. And I forget the writer-director's name. I can look it up. But he wrote Training Day. He wrote, I think, the Book of Eli. He wrote several movies and directed a couple. But let me tell you, and this is for the men out there, because I know most ladies don't like war movies, but this is your throwback World War II, just testosterone-infested, bullet-slinging, you know, bloodletting, macho, mono versus mono type of war flick. And if you're a dude and you like war movies, I'm telling you, this is the movie for you. Brad Pitt gives a decent performance. There's a bunch of decent performances in this movie, and it's old school. It's a throwback. And at the end, it's the kind of thing you like. It's the suicide mission where they're outgunned, outnumbered, all that good stuff. And, you know, they represent America, and they just go into slaughter mode. You know what I mean? But don't get me wrong, it's highly violent, it's highly graphic, but it's done well. It's very well done. You know what I mean? But I also, in the next few minutes, and I'm going to try to come back and do another 30 minutes tomorrow, but like I said, I'm in a lot of pain right now because of my hip, but there's a little television show, and it comes on Adult Swim, and it's the most original and funny television show that I've seen in years. And it's called Black Jesus, and if you're not getting some Black Jesus in your life is, you're missing out on something, because let me tell you something. Black Jesus is genius, it's hilarious. Sleek Johnson plays Jesus. And what makes it so genius is because he's in the hood, he's in Compton, he's with some brothers who are, they get their street hustle on, some of them sell weed, some of them do this, some of them do that. And he's trying to, he says all the things Jesus says in the Bible. He preaches love, he preaches peace, he preaches non-sin, and he says all the right things that Jesus would say. And that's what makes it so charming and hilarious, you know what I mean? That he's got all these miscreants around him who want to do bad things, but Jesus is trying to show them the righteous path. And you know, and I know a lot of my white friends out there went to these white fundamental Christian churches with the picture of Jesus on the wall. It's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and Jesus did exist. Even though I hate to use facts, because I know people there's no historical facts to prove Jesus even existed as a man on this planet. But if he did exist, he would be a dark-skinned fella. If you don't believe me, you can look at the Old Testament when Moses saw the burning bush and looked at God for a brief moment before you know, that's what turned his hair and beard white, was staring in the face of God. And he basically said that, and this ain't a direct quote, but it's pretty close, that God had feet, his palm of his hands and feet were brass, and that his hair was white, short, and woolly like a lamb, which sounds like an afro and a brother to me, or at least a dark-skinned Egyptian, you know what I'm saying, or a Middle Eastern cat. So, you know, like I said, but anyway, it's hilarious. I'm saying check it out. You know what I mean? And now I'm going to get to what I got here. I got about 5 minutes. I'm at 24. Let's see, 3. Boom, 5 minutes left. I'm going to start the next segment. I'm going to do live today. I'll probably will tape it tomorrow and upload it. But I also want to say that my puck of the week, how could I forget? And man, let me tell you, there is some great contenders. Carly Fiorina, she's done episode lie after lie after lie, PolitiFact, and fact-check.org has proven that her and Donald Trump just lie constantly like most of these Republican candidates. Like I said, don't take my word for it. Go to factcheck.org, go to PolitiFact, and see what they say and see if the facts check out. You know, about this whole Planned Parenthood stuff, which is ludicrous. Because in the big scheme of things, Planned Parenthood, and this was on Wolf Blitzer from what stood up tonight on CNN against Chavez, who's just Republican up-and-comer who's a U.S. Senator out of Utah, and this is true. 75, look, Planned Parenthood does get $500 million every year. Not 500 billion, my bad. $500 million every year from the U.S. government. 75% of that is Medicaid and Medicare reimbursement. 3% of what they do is abortions. The other 97% is women's health care, preventive health care for poor women. You know what I mean? And that's what they do. They give out more mammograms and pap smears than any other medical association or facility in the United States. And that's just the truth. These are facts. Check them up. Google it. Holler at your boy if I'm wrong, which I'm not. Holler at your boy. But all I'm saying is now they're trying to defund them over these doctored films where they lie. Carly Farina actually made the crazy statement where they said she saw a part of the films that saw a live baby that they tried to keep alive so they could harvest its brain. That never happened. There's no film of that. It does not exist. It never happened. It is a bold-faced lie. You know what I mean? And not to mention that she ran Hewlett Packard and ground. She was a horrible CEO. You know what I mean? And she lies and says this and that. And I know because the Republican Party this year has finally got a black guy running. And finally got a woman running. You know what I mean? Don't be fooled. Don't think they like black people or minorities or have their best interests at heart. And don't think they have women's best interests at heart. Because if you do, you're falling victim to their bullshit. You know what I mean? Only interest at heart they have is rich white men. And if you're not a rich white guy, you should be voting Republican. And don't take my word for it. Go look at their voting record. I forget the website, but you can Google it. You can look at every U.S. Senator and U.S. Representative's voting record. Don't listen to what they say. Listen how they watch how they vote. Go read how they vote. And you know they vote against jobs. They vote against anything Obama's done that's trying to do good in this country. And Obama's accomplished a lot for all the obstructionism. You know what I mean? And when history looks back, they'll realize Obama was one hell of a president. And you can hate if you want because the facts bear out what I say. He was a hell of a he's been a hell of a president. And Hillary Clinton's going to be the next president. And that's why I don't know what the big deal about this Republican primary. That's why they're running 97 people to become the Republican candidate. That's how scared they are. That's why they bring up this big Benghazi shit, because they're scared of Hillary Clinton. I've got to see Slick Willie coming out early for her and crushing these haters. Because people have got to remember she's Bill Clinton's wife. Bill Clinton's going to be around, and he's the greatest president of my lifetime. So I'm thinking if it goes according to plan, she listens to Bill, and they get together and do this power twin shit, that she could be the second greatest president of my lifetime. You know what I mean? And she's definitely qualified. She's the most qualified person for the job. She's been a senator. She's been a secretary of state. Hell, she's been married to Bill Clinton for 40 years, man. If they don't qualify you, I don't know what else does. You know what I mean? And even though I'm rambling, that was part of the title, so I had to get my ramble on. I'm down to the last, 50 seconds or so. So I'm going to get off here. I want to give a shout out once again to my man, Pretty Fred, the FCA cartel, for my intro song, Force City Bound, because I got to rip the FCA. And I'm going to get off here because if I ain't announced it yet, I'll announce it late. This is Shooting the Breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. You can find me on Facebook at Byron A. Lloyd. You can find me on Twitter at The Roni. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on all that shit. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on everything. I'm hooked up worldwide. I'm connected, Joe. My social media game is fat. So if you don't like what I say, you get some questions or something, or you want me to interject something in the show, just send it to me. Message, holler at your boy. Like I said, once again, this is Shooting the Breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. Sorry for the technical difficulty. You should be used to it by now, and I'm out of here. Late.